Now, I know you guys see the title, so you know what we're talking about here today. I know it's going to be a controversial subject at that. I want to start this by saying that I am a huge fan of the Death Note series, so don't take this video as me hating, air quotes, hating the Death Note series. It is a great series, and objectively speaking, it is one of the greatest series of all time. With that being said, does that make it a masterpiece? I never hear anyone say anything bad about Death Note, ever. It gets so much praise from the community, and rightfully so. But is that praise well deserved? Yeah, it is. But it brings me back to the question of this video. Is it a masterpiece? What's going on, everyone? If you're new here to the channel, my name is Flash Ackerman. I do content basically with anything to do with anime or manga. So if you are a fan of anime and manga, you might enjoy my videos, so definitely check them out. And if you do enjoy them, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps out me and the channel. Now, back to Death Note. Let's go back to how I came up with this video idea. I went on Mal, My Anime List. And if you don't know what My Anime List is, it's a website where you rank your animes. It's pretty simple. I was looking at all the animes I've rated in the past. Now, if you don't know how Mal works, you rate from 1 to 10, 1 being appalling and 10 being a masterpiece. I initially had Death Note rated as a 10, aka a masterpiece. But looking back on that, is it justified? I feel like a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, maybe just me, get caught up in the hype of watching a new anime. When you're watching it, you think it's the best thing in the world. But then when you go back to it a couple months or even years later, you look at it and go, eh. Now this can work the opposite way too, where maybe you go back to something after some time and think you should have appreciated it much more than you did when you were watching it. Now, when taking a look back at Death Note, honestly, I'm pretty conflicted about my feelings for the show. It is 100% one of the greatest anime ever, and maybe not saying it is a masterpiece is silly, but I just don't know. Half the reason for me making this video is for me to figure out for myself if Death Note is a masterpiece or not. Because at the time of me writing this, or saying this, because this is a video but I'm typing a script before, but you guys get the point, I'm not sure. So let's take a look back at the Death Note anime. First thing I want to look at is the art style of Death Note, which is one of the main draws of the show for me. Takashi Obata's art style is a personal favorite of mine, and I'm honestly mad at myself for not taking in more of his work at the point of me recording this video. I've seen Death Note, obviously, and Platinum End is one of my favorite mangas of all time. I'm so hyped for the anime to drop, guys, you have no idea, but let's save that for another video. Other works of Obata include Hakari no Go, Railgrad, Bakuman, and All You Need Is Kill. They're all definitely on my list of things I need to read because, like I said, Obata's art style is a personal favorite of mine. So long story short, Death Note's art style is amazing in my books and deserves a 10 out of 10. So the art style is amazing. But now what about the plot and the characters? First, let's hop into the plot. A high school honor student finds a notebook where if you write someone's name in it, they die of a heart attack. You can write the cause of death too if you want, and also include the time. There's only one rule. You must know the person's real name and what their face looks like. Now let's talk about the protagonist, or I don't even know if I can call him that, Light Yagami, the main character. Light is the honor student who finds the notebook and wants to use the power to make a world a better place, killing all the criminals and wrongdoers. His aim is to become, in his own words, the god of the new world, and quickly starts on his path of doing that. He tests out different ways to kill people, the book's limitations, and everything else on his journey to become the god of the new world. Now, who's trying to catch him? That would be L, a detective where nobody has seen his face and is known for being the greatest detective in the world. I feel like I can't say L is exactly opposite of Light, but in many ways they're different. The only thing in common is their massive brain power, as being known as some of the smartest characters in all of anime. When you talk about the smartest anime characters of all time, you hear Light, L, Lelouch, Shikamaru, and maybe even Armin from Attack on Titan. I know there's more, but that's just a couple examples. There's a reason why Death Note is regarded as one of the greatest anime of all time, the constant chess match between L and Light throughout the series. Now we got some spoilers coming up, so if you haven't seen Death Note yet, go watch it, you're definitely missing out. There's a bunch of other characters like Misa Amane, another person with the Death Note, Light's quote-unquote girlfriend, who he uses for his own personal gain, Nier and Mello, L's successor, who, okay, I guess, and the members of the Kira Task Force team, so on and so forth. The characters are great in Death Note. There it is. It's great. It's no other way to say it. 10 out of 10. Even if I'm not a fan of Nier and Mello, Light and L can carry the score back up to being perfect. So the art style is the perfect 10, and so are the characters. So what about the plot? Me thinking back about Death Note, some of the scenes that stick out to me are Light killing Naomi, Light gaining back his memories after touching the Death Note again, and L collapsing, realizing his defeat to Light as Light stares him down. More specifically, I want to look more into the Light and Naomi scene. Now, like I said earlier, this is a scene when I was watching, I don't think I appreciated it for what it was. An absolute masterpiece of a scene, dialogue, arc, whatever you want to call it. I actually had to take a break from me writing the script to go rewatch the scene in the anime. This interaction between Light and Naomi is incredible, and honestly, I think is what made me start to love Death Note so much. How Light somehow manages to keep Naomi engaged in the conversation until the point where he is somehow able to get her real name out of her is crazy. Light's a dog. He really is. And a quick side note, I forgot how good the music in Death Note is. It is spectacular and adds so much to the show. The best part about this whole Naomi situation, I guess I'll call it that because I honestly still don't know what to call it, is the imagery at the end. Light convinces her that he is a part of the Kira task force and that they want her to join. She eventually gives him her real name. Right when she hands over her license, I believe it's Aizawa from the task force team who walks right by her and Light. Naomi only missing her chance to actually talk to someone from the task force team by mere seconds. Naomi was such a brilliant detective, she damn near figured out the case all by herself with very minimal clues, and it was just a heartbreaking scene where she got so close to being able to avenge her fiancé. Light obviously writes her real name down in the Death Note page he brought with him, and that's when Naomi asks why he keeps checking his watch, with Light responding, "Because I'm Kira." If that's not one of the coldest lines in all anime, I don't know what is. The disbelief and shock on Naomi's face that she was also tricked by Kira gave Kira all the info she had on him and the look that she knew that she would die soon. The clock hits the minute mark and she turns around and starts walking away to her eventual death. Light tries to stop her to make sure the Death Note actually works, which it did, and stairs appear with a noose at the top. I believe this imagery is saying that her action led to her own death, or she is walking up towards the path of death. The fact that I can go on and talk about a scene like this just shows how great of a scene it is. When I was rewatching the scene, it actually low-key gave me goosebumps, man. It's such a great scene, and I encourage you to go rewatch it if you haven't already. It's such a great scene. Like I said, I didn't appreciate it for what it was. Now back to the question I posed at the start of the video, is Death Note a masterpiece? Let's look closer into the second half of the show for a couple minutes. Up to episode 26, where L eventually meets his death at the hands of Light/Kira, the show is a 10 out of 10, no questions asked. I wouldn't be mad if the show ended here at all, as I think it would be a pretty good ending spot. Now we jump into season 2, or episodes 27 to 38, the second half of the show, whatever you want to call it, which is where I personally start to have problems with the show. Many things happen in the post-L era, you could call it, of Death Note. Light's father dies, Mello dies, a lot of crazy shit happens, alright? My problem starts towards the very end of Death Note. A quick side note before I talk about the ending of Death Note, I'm not the biggest fan of Nier or Mello, and I know it's extremely hard to follow up an amazing character like L, but I just really don't like them, especially Nier. And I'm sorry if you really like Nier. For me, I just don't enjoy his character. Now, the whole premise of being two successors of L is that they were able to come together and eventually beat Kira, something L couldn't do. But the biggest problem I have with Death Note is Light's downfall. Now, to keep it short and simple, I think it should have been Light's direct action that led to his death. Now, you could say it was his direct action, that him trusting Mikami, led to his death, which it did, but let me talk real quick. I feel like Light just trusting Mikami shouldn't have led to his death, but something that Light did directly. Maybe a miscalculation, something that went over his head that he didn't think about, something along the lines of that. But Mikami making a mistake when Light had the perfect plan in place to eventually win and beat Nier? If you can't tell, I'm really not a big fan of the ending of Death Note. If Light was going to lose, I feel like it should have been completely 100% his fault, not someone else making a stupid decision on their behalf and it leading to Light's defeat. Now, like I already said, Light trusting Mikami to do everything correct and right may be 100% his fault from putting so much trust into just one person. Let me know if you guys feel the same way about the ending. I've talked to people and they agree with me that they didn't like the ending, whether it be for my reasons or their own. Now, with that said, up to episode 26 of Death Note is a masterpiece, yes, but the ending of shows, at least for me, are extremely important. Nobody likes an awful ending, and it can lead to people overall disliking the show. Take for example Game of Thrones, a show I never watched, but the writers screwed up the ending very badly and people are extremely angry about it. Now when people talk about the show, they only talk about how poor the ending was and not how great everything else in the show was. I know when I was watching the ending of Death Note, I was almost in disbelief. I could not believe that Light lost the way he did. I just couldn't believe he lost at all. Throughout the whole series, he managed to survive and outsmart his opponents, even if it seemed impossible. But like Ryuk always said, it would be him writing Light's name down in his Death Note. Now with all my thoughts out there on the show, what is my answer to my original question? Is Death Note a masterpiece? Yes. I am able to overlook the ending of the show, which I personally hated, for all the better parts of the show that came before. My reasoning is actually pretty simple. Did I like the ending? No. Did I like everything else? Yes. I couldn't think about one other bad thing about the show. And now looking back at the ending objectively, taking out my personal feelings, I think a tragic ending to the story of Death Note was warranted. Light/Kara finally being killed, Misa committing suicide, and Matsuda, a character throughout the series who seemed to me like he would never be able to hurt a fly, shooting Light. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you think Death Note is a masterpiece? Out of 10, what would you give Death Note? Let me know if you guys want to see more videos like this on the future in the channel. I had a really fun time making this video and would love to do it again. I'm out. I'll catch you guys on the next vid. Peace.